Christianity as we know it today in the continent of Africa was midwifed to us in the continent through Europe, through the missionaries. When they came, they were reading the very same Bible that we are reading today. When they sat in Berlin and were dividing the continent of Africa, they were reading the same Bible that we are reading today. The same Bible in which, in Paul's letter to the Galatians at chapter 3:28, he says, there are no Jews, no Gentiles, no slave, no free, no woman, no man. They read that verse. It was not interpolated later after they came. They read it. But they came here and conquered us. They came here and discriminated against us. The same Bible.
Hello everybody, welcome once again to AfriPost. I believe wherever you're watching us from, you're doing great. The question of religion is something that different people across the continent of Africa have talked about in different lengths. You remember that Africa as it is had communities having their own way of connecting to the divine being. But then the European came to the continent and they gave us what we now call Christianity. And even the Arabs came and they gave us what we call the Islam. So this thing is something that has really sparked debate in different aspects. There are those who believe that religion is a tool that the white man used to ensure that he could control the mind of the black person. So I want us to really delve deeper into this issue because in the video that I want to play for you, Professor PLO Lumumba, he is talking about the role of religion in development of African continent. And in fact, he is saying that religion has been used as a tool to pervert truth. Religion has been used as a tool to ensure that blacks are not able to really work towards achieving their goals because it is supposed to make them timid. It is supposed to make them weak. It is supposed to make them submissive. Kindly watch this video. Then let's talk about PLO's comments after the video.
When I travel across the continent, and I do, in many countries, I am amazed by the number of buildings whose owners claim are churches. In a distance of 1 kilometer, you will see different denominations. The Bible is now the greatest instrument in creating false industries in the continent of Africa. And that is not to be celebrated. It is to be frowned upon. And we who claim to be Christians, and I normally use this very deliberately, we claim to be Christians. As to whether we are is another debate. We'll only discover that a little later when we are in heaven. And therefore, when we talk about rediscovering, we are saying that it was once discovered. But let us situate the Bible in its proper place. Christianity as we know it today in the continent of Africa was midwifed to us in the continent through Europe, through the missionaries. When they came, they were reading the very same Bible that we are reading today. When they sat in Berlin and were dividing the continent of Africa, they were reading the same Bible that we are reading today. The same Bible in which, in Paul's letter to the Galatians at chapter 3:28, he says, there are no Jews, no Gentiles, no slave, no free, no woman, no man. They read that verse. It was not interpolated later after they came. They read it. But they came here and conquered us. They came here and discriminated against us. The same Bible. They were being mentored by that very same Bible. They came here when they had divided the body of Christ. The English had appropriated the religion in 1534, and they now had their Anglican church complete with the monarch as its head. The Scots had appropriated their own, and they had the Presbyterian church. The Greeks had their Greek Orthodox. The Armenians, the Armenian Orthodox. The Roman Catholics were even bolder. They called it the Roman Catholic Church. So that even when they are in Uganda, it's not Ugandan Catholic Church, it is the Roman Catholic Church. And you are going there and you are saying you are Roman Catholic Church. In apartheid South Africa, they are the Dutch Reformed Church, which became the foundation stone upon which apartheid was articulated in 1948 by Hendrik Verwoerd and his cohorts. So the Bible has been misused. Don't be cheated. Let's not be nice to each other because we are Christians. The Bible has been misused. It has been used to support slavery. It has been used to support colonization. It has been used to pervert the truth. That is the Bible that we are saying we ought to rediscover. So when we are gathered here as Christians and we are talking about rediscovery of mentorship in the Bible, we must have a spirit that is a questioning spirit. When His Grace was preaching to us, he said, we must always be nice before we are good. Not always. And I've always talked about two approaches to be found in the Bible. One is of John the Baptist and Herodias. It's a dangerous path where you go out into the public and condemn evil. The only thing that you must know is that when you follow that path, Salome will ask for your head. But there are circumstances when it is necessary. Then there are circumstances when it is necessary to follow the path that His Grace has suggested. Read the conversation between Nathan and David and what he did to the wife of Prophet Uriah. He comes and tells him, in this place there was a person who had a lamb. Circumstances define which method you use. And in a forum such as this, we now live in a world where as Christians we are also very pretentious. We don't speak the truth as it ought to be spoken. And when I read the Bible sometimes as a Christian, I ask myself, what kind of Christian would I be? I often ask myself, if I lived in the days of Jesus, which of these disciples would I be? Because let us ask ourselves, when were we first called Christians? In fact, if you read the Bible and the history of Christianity and how we were first called Christians in Antioch, it was not a badge of honor to be called a Christian. It was not a badge of honor. It was a statement that these individuals who follow somebody whom we do not respect, whose ideas we do not respect, then we embraced it. But do we question that as Christians when we are reading the Bible? Do we read the Bible? Many of us who make the claim that we are Christians are not good Bible readers, despite your best efforts and best intentions. I normally ask this test question to my audience rather lately, and I'll test it this morning to determine how effectively you read the Bible. When you read the book of Isaiah, chapter 6, it says that in the year that King Uzziah died, the Lord appeared unto Isaiah the son of Amos. Then I ask Christians, and who is King Uzziah? They do not know. They have never read about him in the Chronicles because they are satisfied with what they are preached to and about. Christians don't read the Bible. They read sections of the Bible. And one of the instruments that has now made Christians not read the Bible is social media. They Google a particular section. Your Grace, you'll see if you are from the pulpit occasionally, most of your congregation are not looking at you when you are preaching the word. They are under the table. Many times you read the word and they are looking for it as if it never existed. That is the kind of Christians that we have today, claiming to be Christians. And if they claim to be Christians and you want them to rediscover mentorship from the Bible, how can they be mentored by something whose contents they do not know? I remember when we were baptized, we used to say, I reject the devil with all his works. I'm sure many of you remember that. That is not true. You never rejected the devil with all his works. Those were words that you just spoke on the spur of the moment. I remember one day when my little daughter was getting baptized. So we went for preparation for baptism at my church at the All Saints Cathedral. And the provost of the cathedral asked me, do you believe in child baptism? I said, I do not believe in child baptism. And he said, why are you bringing your child? I said, because I don't want you to give her trouble asking why were you not baptized. And we entered into a debate, and he asked me, why don't you believe in child baptism? I said, it has no biblical basis. Because if it had biblical basis, Christ would have been baptized as a child. That debate still lingers, and I'm quite certain some of you may not agree with me, but it has no biblical basis. As many as believed were baptized. Children cannot believe. They have no power of discerning. I'm still talking about rediscovering mentorship in the Bible. In this congregation, if I were to pick any one of you to recite for me the 10 commandments in the order in which they were given to Moses, I can assure you, and I'll not try it, I don't want to embarrass anybody. Out of 10, possibly only 2 would recite them in the order in which they were given. Because to you and me, 10 commandments have become 10 suggestions. 10 suggestions to be obeyed only when it is convenient. And yet, if we were to use the 10 commandments alone as the basis of governing our lives, we would need no other laws in the world. We would need no other laws in the world. But we do not look to the Bible. The Bible does not guide our lives. The Bible is a convenient thing that we make reference to when we want to cover our sins. It has become a moral fig leaf that we use to hide our nakedness. And I want to tell you that until and unless we change our ways, and it's a constant struggle for all of us, I now understand why Christ said how difficult it shall be to get into the kingdom of heaven. I do not know whether it's in Revelation where there is an attempt to say the number of people will get into heaven, and heaven is described. I used to think it was very small. I now know not many people may get there.
Now that was such a great speech from PLO Lumumba, because the guy really has a way of nailing these speeches and ensuring that they really hit the consciousness of the listeners. For me, the question of religion, it is a sacred issue that I would not come here and kind of spark a debate about it. But being a scholar, as PLO is, he understands certain aspects of how religion was used to subdue the mind of the black person in African continent. You know, when they came, they told us that even slave owners are supposed to be respected. So this is something that it's really debatable. And then the doctrine of turning your cheek when you're slapped on one side, that is totally there to prevent and stop any defiance that can exist. Anybody who can stand. And I think this also ties to the question of fighting for your rights, because if you are going to be fighting for your right, it means that you are not going to sit down and be oppressed by someone who is superior to you. I believe that as we are from different religions, from different beliefs that we hold together, let's always find a way of ensuring that Africa really finds its way back to its original form. And even if he's talking about the speech that was written about regeneration of the African continent and its economy, it really shows you that the sophistication and the level of civilization that had already permeated Africa even before the coming of the white person, it really shows you that Africa was strides ahead. Remember, even people like Pythagoras were students in Egypt. They learned how different mathematical connotations would be put. So this is something that is really worth looking at and talking about. I believe Africa, with or without religion, they had their way of attending or even meeting their superior being, and that is something that must be embraced. We should not demonize them. So Africa had its own way of existence. You also remember that research and studies have found that Africa is the cradle of mankind, and this is where humanity began. And therefore, it all means that every sophistication that the mankind has had over this time was developed here in the continent. So I don't know what is your opinion about this question and the role of religion in Africa and its development. Please get communicating down in the comment section, like this video, and don't forget to subscribe if you are a new viewer. Thank you. May the good Lord bless you. Goodbye.